Ukraine has said several times that there's no deal without security guarantees. President Trump just said earlier in his cabinet meeting that the U.S. will not make security guarantees, that Europe will. We've heard from French President Emmanuel Macron this week. He's pushing for a European peacekeeping force to deploy to Ukraine, with the United States providing a backstop to further deter Russia. But Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said earlier today that having European or any foreign peacekeepers, for that matter, in Ukraine is a red line. So as you can see, there is some progress here, but there certainly appears to be much more that needs to be done before we can see any sort of end to the war in Ukraine, guys.
And Megan, briefly, I know we're expecting some talks in Turkey and Saudi Arabia, but Ukraine doesn't appear to be at the table. Is there a chance that could change?
Well, so what we understand about this, according to a State Department spokesperson telling NBC News, that the meeting in Istanbul will focus on the operations of Russian and U.S. missions. So the agenda will not include Ukraine or any other political or security issue. Sergei Lavrov said, excuse me, that the focus will be on the operation of both embassies in both Moscow and Washington. So it certainly appears as though Ukraine will not be part of the discussion, guys.
All right, Megan Fitzgerald. Megan, thank you.
A new poll out today shows that more and more Gen Zers are appearing to flee from their hometown.
Take a look at some of the stats here. More than half of those young people who were surveyed say they have left the area where they went to high school. Only 1 in 10 say they returned, and nearly 80% say they would leave their hometown if they were given the opportunity.
These new numbers are part of ongoing research by the Walton Family Foundation and Gallup, looking into the experience of Gen Z. That's someone who's between the ages of 12 and 27 years old. Joining us now is Kevin Huffman. He is the former Tennessee Commissioner of Education and currently leads Accelerate, a national nonprofit created by American Achieves. Thank you so much for being with us, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So what are some of the factors driving young people away from their hometowns?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one, especially in rural communities, is a lack of job opportunities and feeling like they don't have access to the kinds of opportunities that they want. There's some other factors, things that maybe you wouldn't have thought of, like climate change and concerns about that. When they actually leave, they're typically leaving to attend a college, they're leaving to get a job, and those are sort of the two biggest factors. But if you ask them what would make them leave, it's typically opportunity.
It feels like this has always kind of been a thing, right? People leave the small town and go to the big city. What's different about this?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is when you look at this survey data, it shows that actually most young people don't want to leave rural communities. And even when they do leave, they tend to stay actually relatively close to home, which shows sort of a desire to be there. So you have this interesting juxtaposition of people are leaving, but they're saying they'd like to stay, and it's opportunity that seems to be driving them away.
And I understand you all also surveyed sort of concerns that Gen Z was experiencing. And in an interesting twist, parents seem to be a bit aligned with Gen Z when it comes to their concerns. What were those?
Yeah, I think parents, if you ask them whether their children are going to have an opportunity, especially in rural areas, they're more likely to say that they're a little bit concerned. And so while, on balance, they say, yes, we think there are going to be opportunities, very few of them feel very strongly about that. And so they seem aligned with the idea that there's a lack of opportunity for their kids as well.
I'm thinking that this is a downside for all those towns that are losing population, right? Smaller towns where Gen Z is leaving. But what's the bottom line? Like, is it okay for our economy that Gen Z wants to move elsewhere?
Well, it may be okay for the economy. I would argue it's not okay in terms of giving people what they want. I think policies should help drive people to be able to pursue the opportunities that they want. And so if young people are saying, I'd like to stay closer to home, we need to give them those opportunities. And, it's interesting. There has been some reporting recently on test scores that have come out nationally that have been sort of dismal. The places that have made the most progress, though, are highly rural states. So it's places like Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. And so what we're seeing is the skill levels of kids are actually rising. And what we need to do is ensure that they have the opportunities to allow them to pursue what they want to do.
That there are the jobs right close by.
Correct. And the training, the opportunities that give them the kind of training, internships,